Hi everyone, it's Diane Evans with stampinwithdiane.com. I'm an independent Canadian Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the interior of British Columbia. So welcome to the the January to April virtual launch for 2023. I feel honored to be in this launch, and I chose a stamp set that's kind of hard to work on its own. But let's just get started. We're just going to go right on down to my desktop, and we'll get started right away. Now, this is it's called Something Fancy, and this is a bundle that you can find in the new catalog. And of course, when you do buy a bundle, you save you 10%. But this bundle is part of a suite that is called Fancy Flora. And basically, there's two bundles to this suite. It has some beautiful shimmer paper, some embellishments, ribbon, and this designer series paper is absolutely amazing. And so, like I say, this is the stamp set that there is. Now, it's really hard to do a stamp set when it's just words and banners or words and labels. But honestly, I'm going to show you some using something from the two-tone floral bundle as well, just because it's very hard to do this. But I did do one card that I can show you in a bit. All right, the fonts are amazing on here, lots of different fonts. And then we also have these 12 different dies in here that cut out. Now, this is going to be one of those label dies that you are going to want to have in your stash. All right, so we are also going to be using this two-tone floral die, and it's a background stamp. But I need to have something other than just these words and labels on my die cut. Now, I showed a way on my hints of how to cut it out. I always cut these detailed ones out with a layer of wax paper in between the die and the cardstock. And you'll find that works really well to get it cut out. All right, so let's show you. I'm also going to be using some adhesive sheets because when you're using these background dies, it works so much better when you have an adhesive sheet on your card or on the cardstock. So I've already gone ahead and cut that part out, and I've cut some other parts out, and I'll show you what that is. Okay, with this one here, this is this die here, and I've gone ahead and I put one of these little insert dies, and I'll show you how that works. And I've just gone and, oh my goodness, I put it in on that part just like that, and I've cut it out together. And that probably didn't show you quite right how to do that, but let me just take that out. Okay, so when I put it on the die cutting machine or cut and emboss machine, I just put it together. I used my Post-it note tape and just put it all together and cut it all at once. And that gave me this beautiful, this little cutout image. Another hint is make sure that you put this away right away. I had already lost it at one point. All right, so let's go and make our card. Now, this is the sentiment that I'm going to use. I just love this one. I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching the celebration. This might be one that what you might want to do is do on the inside of a card. However, I'm going to do it on the outside of this particular card. So I have my Orchid Oasis, and I've cut it 4 1/4. I believe I've cut it at 4 1/4. I'm thinking I did. Yeah, 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I scored it at 5 1/2, and I folded it, and we used our bone folder and got a really good crease on it. Now, I also used this designer series paper. Oh, it's such pretty paper. And I'm going to put that on there, but I might be using some ribbon. I'm not sure on this until I get through to the other parts. So let's go ahead and just leave that like that. Now with this die, like I say, I used the adhesive sheets on the back here because what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to go ahead and use the glue to stick it down. Now, this is such a pretty one, and it could put it right over top. However, what I wanted to do with this was I wanted to show you that you can add a bit of a different sort of look to it by just cutting it. So I'm just going to come in with my snips, And I'm going to just cut this part off. And I'll come back in and get better trims to it. Just like so. And see, I want to cut this right around here and then cut it on this part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and make sure that these little trim marks, or where I cut them off, look like it's more of a natural cut on there. All right, so this part here is going to go right on here. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that these are cut off properly as well. So I'm just going to nicely trim those up. And then what we're going to do, you know what, I'm going to take this piece off here. I'm going to take this piece off, and then even this little piece here, make it so it's rounded to go with what's there. And then I want to have this where it comes down here, and then I'm going to separate it to show off that designer series paper. So, oh my goodness, I've got light coming through. Let's see if I can just stop that so that we don't have that interfering with the camera. And I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just going to come in with my little tiny guillotine trimmer and cut this part at the bottom off. And I think that's about where it's going to be cut off. And you know what? It'll be okay no matter where I put it. All right, so then I wanted to put this right up. You know what? I want a little bit more bigger of a space. So let me come in and cut a little bit more of that off. There we go. And see, this part is going up with what was on the top part up here. You know what? This should be cut off too. Now, I trimmed this really close. It does have a bit of a border on it. Obviously, I cut it really close, but like 1/100 of an inch on there. We don't want that on there. All right. So then we're just going to go ahead and put that there and put that there. And now we don't have to play with glue because we're going to use our adhesive sheets. Now, these parts should come off with the adhesive sheet. So I'm just going to come in and remove my adhesive sheet. I'm going to do it ever so gently. So I want to make sure that I get it all off. There we go. We're going to have to get that part. There we go. I'm just going to remove that. That's why using these adhesive sheets, they're great, but you can also run into problems getting them off, especially on these detailed dies. But I've got a little piece up here as well. And like I say, this should take off that excess part. And there's another piece right here. But I'm going to take that little piece off there too. Let's just get that part off. And then there's this part as well. And like I say, because it's a detailed die, there's a little bit more to getting this off. But really, it's a lot easier than having to glue it afterwards. There we go. So then we're just going to take this like this. And I'm going to put this up here. And it's just a slight, I don't think it's 1/8 of an inch border. And let's just put that on there. So is that not pretty? You could go ahead and just leave it like that if you wanted to. But my whole vision was I wanted to have this on the bottom of the card. So this part is going to be hard to get off as well. But we can play with that. And it wasn't something I could do ahead of time because it's one of those things that if I do, it'll get all stuck. So this one's working a little bit better than the other one did. And when you use the adhesive sheets, there's strips of them. So I have one more strip to come off the bottom part here. And there it's right there. So hopefully this part will come off as easy as that part just did. Just like so. There we go. And there we go. Excuse me. So this part is just going to go here. Excuse me. Just like that. And then this part is just going to go right onto the front of the card. Excuse me. The ribbon that goes along with this sweep is a beautiful pool party ribbon, but I think I'm going to leave that part off because of something that I'm going to do with the label itself. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to stamp the sentiment on there. I'm going to, because it's a dark one, I'm going to use my embossing kit. I'm just coming in with my embossing buddy. I have my Versamark, and then we have this stamp set. And I'm going to have it so that it's straight. When I've got it on an angle, it's straight to read. And then I'm just going to come in with my white embossing powder. And I'm just going to put that onto here. There we go. And I just blow on that just to see. All right. So that is going to go. So let's go ahead. And I'm just going to burnish that down just a bit. Because we want that piece of paper to stick. The other side is very pretty with that Daffodil Delight on there. Or is that Mango Melody, I think. All right, so that's just going to go on there like that. This is a very plain card. But just showing you that you can do different things with this tag. Now we need to come in and we need to heat set this. So I'll just quickly heat set it. It won't take very long to do it. One thing about embossing, a lot of people have problems with heat embossing. Make sure that you don't do this to your heat embossing. You just want to take it and you just want to start it, and then you're just going to move it very, very quickly or very slowly so that it just gets all of it. And if you have any dullness, it means it hasn't been done. And what could happen is that it would just rub off your card. All right, so we have that. We're just going to put that on there, but I wanted to add a bit of some sort of stuff to the back of this. So I'm just coming in with my seal, and I'm going to take my Orchid Oasis ribbon, the shimmer ribbon, and we're just going to loop that ribbon around. And that, whoops, that ribbon on the back is just going, or that seal on the back is just going to make it so that it'll stay on there. See if that looks okay. Now the other thing that you can do with this ribbon, and I'm actually going to come in and put some dimensionals on these so we get it to stick. I'm using the dimensionals to hold the ribbon down. Is now what we could do once that's on there is we can separate this ribbon a bit just to add a bit more to it. So now another thing that I'm doing right now is I haven't taken the backs off those dimensionals, and I'm just using my embossing buddy to take that off because I don't want this label to go where I use the seal. I don't want it to go and dip down the label on there. So just getting this here. This is just going to come like this. A simple card. And then I'm just going to take this ribbon and I'm just going to just separate it a little bit. Just to add a bit more width to the ribbon, I guess, is what's going to happen with this. And just tear that apart. And like I say, I'm just adding just a bit, nothing too over there. Now the gems that come with this, or these gems, they come in the colors that they're in. I think it looks like, you know, I think because they're iridescent, I'm going to get away with using them. But let's see how that's going to look. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll use, you know what, I think I will. I'll use the iridescent pearls on here, because I think that'll go right with it. That just isn't quite the right color to do there. So let's just put a big one and a little one. And then another bigger one down below here. I have also the inside of the card. I don't know exactly what I'm going to put on it. So we can just go ahead and stick that on the inside. And we'll just have to, oh, you know what I could do is I could take that part that I did cut off and I could use that on here on the inside. Let's see how that would work. Just put that on the inside. If it was straight, it would work. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that part. Now, let me just show you a couple of other cards that I did using this suite, and I did use the two-tone floral. I used this with the labels and the thank you stamp on there. And then I used, in another palette, I used the 3 of those die cuts and just added a bit of dimension on there, and that gave me a card there. So I hope you enjoyed that. Here's the card for today. Like I say, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you enjoyed the rest of the virtual launch. And if you have any questions, just reach out. I'll have my information, my contact information below. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the virtual catalog launch, because I know you will. Bye for now.